Yeah. And we're live. Welcome to Influences and References. My name is Björkfinn Benediktsson, author of Step by Step Mixing and founder of Audio Issues. And I'm joined today with my co-host, Ed Charles Elefterion. Hi, Ed. Welcome back.
Hi, Björkfinn. Thank you. Thank
How are
you.
you doing?
I'm okay. The Charles is the middle name, but it's my
Yeah.
my
Your artist name.
artist name, I guess, my recording artist name.
Right. Yeah, so a couple of things that you can do before we start. If you want to get my mix translation cheat sheet and you're struggling to get your mixes sounding great and sounding like they sound in your studio on all the speaker systems across the world, then you can go to mixfinisher.com and download the mix translation cheat sheet right there. And if you want some arrangement, production, and songwriting help, please don't ask me because Ed is way better at it than I am. So go to relieftone.com and contact him there.
Relief
So
Tone.
Relief Tone.
Relief Tone is an anagram of my name.
Oh, is it really?
That's where I got it from.
Man, I never put that together.
That's why I told you. Who would, right?
Right. Last week we talked about the crash test dummies and songs for my father and Ricky Don't Lose That Number by Steely Dan. Fun fact about the crash test dummies: the God shuffled his feet. The synthesizer solo in that song is played by Adrian Belew. I don't know how you pronounce
Adrian
it.
Belew. Yeah.
Belew. And he's a member of King Crimson. And for tomorrow's Audio Issues Happy Hour, I am actually going to be joined by Ronan Chris Murphy, who has worked with King Crimson. So full circle right there.
Wow.
So we were going to talk about some songs, and we had some ideas of what to talk about, but then we decided to throw out the script altogether. The feedback from last week was basically, don't script anything, but all improv.
Well, yeah, I guess improv would be, it implies a performance goal. We have the goal of making the audience laugh or something. I don't know. I don't think that's part of our goal, but yeah, we'll just talk to each other. I think, I haven't seen you in a week, and it's good to see you again.
Yeah, last week you had just released your new song, Happy Now.
Happy Now.
And since then, some things happened.
Yes.
And maybe are not so happy. And we thought we'd talk about songs that make us either feel happy or sad or provoke an emotion of some sort. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the last week?
Yeah, the last week was rough, folks. We're in this, this coronavirus COVID-19 debacle, and my grandmother died. My grandmother died on Saturday, and just for context, like quick context, my grandmother was like a mother to me. So she was more of a mother to me than my mother. So, and I took care of her the last 8 years of her life. We've been through a lot together, and I feel badly that I couldn't kind of get her through this sickness, but we we did our best, and I think she knows that. But she was a musician. She was a a mother and a grandmother, and she gave up her music career to have a family when she was 19. She was studying at NYU. She was a pianist. And I don't know how she was a pianist because her hands were so tiny. She was 4'11", but by the end, I think she was 4'9". She kept shrinking. She would say that. She was like, I'm short and I'm shrinking. I'm getting shorter. Yes,
that's a good song title. You should keep that in the bag. Short and Shrinking.
Short and Shrinking. Well, she was. But so she was a pianist, but she gave that up to have a family. But she taught me about music. She taught me about so many things, obviously. I mean, I don't have to talk about that. Anybody can identify with that. But she loved Nat King Cole.
Okay.
And whenever I would visit her, first it was in Florida for many years. My wife and I would visit her, and we would put on, because she had all these vinyls, and we would put on the record Nat King Cole, and she had a box set, and we would listen to it together with all the pops and the crackles, and it was quite imperfect. But so of course now that we brought Grandma up here many years ago. Up here means to New York, where I live. And I have all of her albums. So every once in a while, we would put on something. We would put on Nat King Cole, of course, and Glenn Miller, and Spike Jones was a fun one from '78. So if you don't know who Spike Jones is, you can look
Yeah, I have my
that up.
my dad has a vinyl, or my parents have one of his vinyls, and it's nuts.
Yeah, it's funny. It's very funny, and yeah. So Saturday we lost Grandma, and I've been listening every night. We listened to one album from the Nat King Cole collection, and so when Björvin and I got together this week, we hadn't talked all week. He didn't really know, but the question was, what do we talk about? And I basically said, how about music that makes you feel better? And then we talked a bit, and he said, how about music that makes you feel something? Basically.
Yeah.
But music that you put on, that you seek out, because certain songs make me feel something, and I wish I could turn them off, but things that you put on for a specific reason.
Yeah, because I mean, songs in general and music, I just find them to be forms of time travel, because they are a memory and a feeling that is always kind of captured in your brain of where you were and how you maybe felt, and or it taps into a particular emotion that you can revisit almost on demand, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, because music also conveys the full spectrum of emotion in general. And I think that is one of the craziest things about 12 tones that we've come to know so well, is
Crazy,
that
right?
they can transport you back in time, and they can transform your emotional state to the better or for the worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you listen to like? What's your go-to? I'm feeling low.
Yeah.
Do you have a go-to? I don't know if I have a go-to, but what's yours?
I don't know if it's for like feeling low, but I definitely have like a pump up playlist. And it includes a lot of silly songs, like Stronger by Kanye West. All I Do Is Win by DJ Khaled. Lin Manuel Miranda's My Shot. I'm a huge Hamilton fan. Did I tell you about the time I met Lin Manuel Miranda in Madrid
No.
in 2008?
No.
Yeah, well, so I had a beer with Lin Manuel Miranda randomly at a networking event when I was studying audio engineering in 2008 or 9, and he was just, as he said himself at the time, he was just a small-time actor in New York, working on some musicals. And I thought that was very, very interesting because, because I was in the audio industry and music industry, and just like those sorts of people, I'm generally more attracted to, and they are generally have are more conversationally fluent in topics that I care about. And he was telling me, and for some reason I told him, like, you look super familiar. Do I know you from somewhere? And he wasn't famous at the time, he wasn't Lin Manuel Miranda, creator of Hamilton, and he said, well, I'm a small time actor in New York. And then it clicked, and I was like, wait, were you in House? He's like, yeah, I was in a couple episodes of House. And I think he played the character Andy, which was the roommate of House, Hugh Laurie's House, in the mental asylum, because the first 2 episodes of season 5 start with him in the mental asylum. because he checks him into a loony bin, himself into a loony bin, and he's this like super energetic, crazy, loon, if you will, and I say that is insane because I literally watched that episode yesterday. So I had watched him be Andy, and then I just randomly go out with friends to a networking event with some university that I wasn't even in, and met him and some of his friends at the time, and it was quite the coincidence. And it's a fun story I like to tell because then I forget about it for 5 to 7 years or something like that, and I'm sitting with my wife at a nail salon getting a pedicure and watching Ellen on daytime television, like you do when it's your wife's birthday, right? And Ellen's guest that time is Lin Manuel Miranda, and of course I was like, yeah, oh yeah, of course he actually he's famous. Why shouldn't he be on Ellen? And then for some reason I was like, he looks weirdly more familiar in a random way than usual, and I pull out my phone, I go to IMDb and look up House episode, or no, I look up him and I look up, go all the way back to 2008. And sure enough, he was Andy in House season 5, episode 1 and 2 or something like that. So that's my Lin Manuel Miranda story.
Man.
So my shot definitely pumps me up. Yeah.
I don't have a story about well, no, sorry. I have a Springsteen story, but I guess I can tell that at some point. But yeah. Well, I guess what.
So what songs do you have that like really make you feel better?
I don't know, man. What makes me feel better? Better's relative. I put jazz on whenever I like when if you said, Ed, put something on, just put something on. I don't care what it is. I guarantee you it's not going to be metal, any kind of metal. Sorry, metal fans. And it's not going to be country. I guarantee you. Sorry, country fans. But it could be anything else. But I probably would reach for jazz. Okay. That's my go-to. When I pick up a guitar, I guess I play blues if I had to play something. If you said, play something.
Yeah. Well, it's easy.
Yeah, blues is kind of easy for me anyway. It's easy.
Sorry, blues fans.
Sorry, blues fans. Well, blues is not, I don't know. I don't think it's about runs and, oh God, some guitar playing makes me crazy because it's just, and some of Mozart's work makes me crazy for the same reason, because there are just too many damn notes. And I want to go, where are we headed here? Or is this just the cul-de-sac of your greatness? So, but anyway, what do I put on? I put on jazz. I've been putting on a lot of Steely Dan lately, probably because they're like jazz meets rock, I guess. Elvis Costello, I put on a lot. James Brown and the JBs, the JB band. Love listening to that. Funk also. I put a lot of old school funk on. I like Curtis Mayfield. And my favorite, Marvin Gaye. So yeah, some of his work is just dynamite.
Cool.
Cool.
Yes, some songs for me, not necessarily make me happy, but I do have a lot of songs that I listen to when I'm pissed off, and there's one in particular when I'm like really angry, and it's the song that is the musical equivalent of punching a bag, or like just going to town on a punching bag.
I'm not going to know this song. He's going to say it, folks, and I'm going to be like, and I'm going to try to pull it off. Here it comes. Go ahead.
It's the song "Ticks and Leeches" by Tool off the Lateralis album. It's one of the greatest songs. It's one of the greatest drum tracks of all time. Danny Carey is one of the best drummers in the world, and it's just amazing how great he is in that song, and just how angry that song is overall.
See, now for me, the angry song I think of when I was a kid, I was like
Mhm.
13, 14, and I had just gotten into Springsteen. No, this is not my Springsteen story. And on his, I think it's his third album, one, two, three, fourth album, Darkness on the Edge of Town. Track number 2 is called Adam Raised a Cain. And
Mm.
that song really kicks ass.
How
Just
so?
how does it kick ass? It's heavy. It's in E minor, first of all. So it's got this kind of it's very heavy. And the drums, Max Weinberg is the drummer, right? And it's almost like if you think of what song do we both know? Does everybody know? Kashmir. It's like it
Okay.
almost feels like it's got that sort of Kashmir plodding sort of drive. But Springsteen is not known for his I don't know. I want to say screaming, although some people
Right.
would argue with me. Um,
Yeah.
he
Belting is a better word, maybe?
he really just says, "Screw this nonsense," and
Mm.
kind of lets this song out. It's kind of
Okay.
this unrelenting kind of angry. There's always this tinge of hope in his work, and that's there too. And it's a relationship about a relationship between a father and a son. And yeah, I remember listening to that song a lot. It's got this kind of
Mm.
great guitar line too, and he's not known for his guitar work. I don't even know
Mm.
if it's him playing it. It might be somebody else, might be Steven, but it doesn't matter. It's a great guitar line, and I don't know. I listened to that one. I used to listen to that one a lot. But Springsteen, I've only reserved now for very, very, very special, usually solitary occasions, because my wife is not a fan, and we share the airwaves. So you don't reach for a
Sorry,
Springsteen
Springsteen fan.
album unless you really want Jessica to leave the room, or And why would I want Jessica to leave the room? Not usually.
That brings me to an artist that my wife absolutely loathes.
All right. Who is it?
First of all, for anybody who wants to chime in, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what your quote unquote favorite song, or what song evokes a specific emotion. So just put on the song, the artist, and the emotion. But the artist that my wife absolutely hates, I'm not sure whether to curse on the quote unquote radio, but is Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay. I can see that. I can support that.
And it's funny because I am a huge Weird Al Yankovic fan. I think he's the funniest person,
Yeah,
funniest musician in the world.
Yeah.
And just his way with words, and his humor, his style, and his covers are obviously top notch and well produced, and sound great and all that. But it's gotten to the point of it's farcical just how much I'll put a Weird Al Yankovic song just to bother her.
Oh my God, Bjorkman. My goodness. How long have you been married?
5 to 7 years.
Oh, are we not sure, or are we hiding our something or other?
It's a long
she may be listening. I understand. So sorry. Continuing.
Well, it was a long story, but I loved her so much that I married her twice.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah. Maybe I'll tell that story sometime.
Yeah, save that one. We'll save that one. We'll do an episode on. I don't know. We'll think of something.
Wedding songs, maybe.
We could do wedding songs.
Yeah.
Wedding songs.
Yeah, it's it's a lot of fun, especially because he covered one of her most favorite bands, the stellar supergroup, the Backstreet Boys. And and she and then he covered it with the song. Well, they obviously did "I Want It That Way," and then he did a version of, that's called "eBay," and eBay is just a making fun of all the crap you can buy on eBay, which is made even more ironic by the fact that now her parents being retired, they run an eBay store selling knickknacks. So
full circle achieved yet again.
yes, yeah. I like to tie things neatly together with a bow, because I hardly wrap presents in real life, because gift bags are honestly way easier to use than wrapping presents, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially for us men. What else you got? What else? What other songs do you like?
I was just thinking about Elvis Presley because um, my my uncle was up, my grandmother's son, my uncle, who's up, and we, okay, she's in a nursing home, can't go and visit, you know how that is. But
Yeah.
luckily, as if there's a luckily, but there is. Luckily, the nursing home only has one floor. So we
Nice.
eventually we find the window, she's not in the bed by the window. She's in the bed by the door. So every time we go up, there's a lovely little roommate, little because she's very, very small woman, who's my grandmother's
Also shrinking.
roommate. Yes, small and shrinking probably. She was in a wheelchair the whole time. She never really got up, and she doesn't speak English, and I don't speak Spanish. So she would see us, and as we would approach, she would go. So we would kiss her back, and then we would, my grandmother only had really one day where she could look over at the window and notice us and see us and acknowledge us. But my uncle, while we were waiting, said, "Hey, I got this video I took. Check this out." So it's of my grandmother, like maybe a couple months before, and she's in her wheelchair where she always was, and she would dance in the wheelchair. So her little feet are going. That's how she danced. But he was playing Elvis Presley. I don't remember what song, but he was playing an Elvis Presley song, and she was just having a ball. She could find a silver lining to I don't know. I think about anything. And she was just dancing. And at one point, she's singing along, which she always did, and she was always early. So she got to the chorus before Elvis did. And she managed, because she realized, oh, I'm early, to tell Kevin, "Oh, this is wonderful. This is what," and then she got back into dancing. So I was thinking of Elvis Presley, and I don't usually listen to Elvis. I don't put him on.
Yeah.
But he did this album, the Hawaii album, one of his last albums, this Concert from Hawaii, which apparently, I don't know this album, if it's a great album or if it's like a greatest hits album, or is it a nostalgia album? I don't know. But I think I've got a copy of it now. I might have to dig it out because,
Right.
well, obviously we got to dance. I got to get in my chair and do the grandma dance. But I think that all these answers that I'm giving are somehow obviously conditioned by the prism of the weekend I've had. And it's almost like I'm trying to get closer to her by kind of inhabiting her taste.
Right.
I think that people do, obviously we do that. We kind of learn our taste and our influences and from the people of our lives. And, like I got into Springsteen because of Kevin, my uncle Kevin. He introduced me to Springsteen and to Elvis Costello, and Grandma introduced me to obviously Nat King Cole. And I don't know that I would like Nat King Cole if it wasn't for the fact that I got introduced to that music and his music through the stories of my grandmother. So it's like not just the music in a vacuum. It's the music and all the smells that go with it and the people that it brings home. And I guess conversely, you could say, "Oh man, I'm never going to listen to that band again because it reminds me of this time or something." But yeah, for me, it's very interesting this time, because I'm aware. I'm at a time in my life, where I'm almost 50, and I'm starting to, become aware of myself as I'm going through life,
Right.
not after the fact, which was my 30s, and not never at all, which was my, whole life up until my, my 20s. You're just sort of oblivious to other people. You're not oblivious, but you kind of are oblivious to the idea of endings and death and what do I want my life to be like, and where do I want to spend my time? And
yeah, lots of, I mean, going back to your thoughts about like how the songs influenced you. It's just like it's basically these songs are like memories of people that also make up who you are in some way, because you take inspiration from them and that becomes a part of you, and then you take an inspiration from somebody else and that becomes a part of you, and sooner or later you're just a collection of uh well, obviously a bunch of memories, but a lot of those memories are linked to a song that was that reminds you of that in some way, and I think that that's kind of what's beautiful about music.
Yeah, whether you make it or not, whether you're a maker, a creator, or a listener, I think both of them require an active imagination.
Right.
Obviously, the creation side, I don't really need to even address the imagination there. But in terms of listening or being an audience member, that that sense of imagination into a world that is being created for you.
Yeah.
And if it's music that then obviously you're going to have all sorts of associations. And if it's music you don't know, then it's going to either remind you of other things, or it's going to be like, let's say, Gregorian chant, which I do really like. Why? I don't know. I picked it up somewhere. But someone else might not like it, but they would think, oh, this is that church music. And then they would have whatever association they would have. But you can't, I guess what I'm saying is there is no neutral. There's no vacuum here. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's like friends that say like that they're, because they say, they make up statements like, I'm not creative, or I like all music, but which means that like you just like haven't decided what you like about music. It's They always say something along those like, oh, I don't know anything about music, I just whatever. And it always bothers me, because I always think like you do have and I asked them this, do you have a positive or a negative or an emotional memory that's tied to a song? And nobody ever says no.
of course.
They're always like, yeah, of course. And it's like, well, then you like music, because you can't not. You might be more indifferent to it, or less attuned to it, or more more indifferent, I guess, but at the same time you can't escape its sort of emotional appeal, I suppose.
I think that that's true, but I do worry, not knowing really what I'm worrying about, as you'll discover in a moment. But I do worry about my students. As you know, I teach, and my students range from the age of 17 to 20, 21. I worry about the 17, 18, 19. I worry because I listen to what they listen to. And I think, okay, but what else do you listen to? Like, and sometimes they come back at me and they go, oh, the Beatles. Like, I have one student who came in with a Beatles t-shirt when we used to come into classroom. But she did. She came in once with a Beatles t-shirt, and I was like, Gina, that's a Beatles t-shirt? And she was like, yeah, I love the Beatles. And I was like, what are you listening to? And she's like, I think it's Hard Day's Night was just finishing. I was like, oh my God. Where did you learn about the Beatles? She goes, my parents. And I was like, aha. I have parents with taste. But other people in the room had never heard the Beatles. Like, they heard of the Beatles, but they never listened to a Beatles song. And it just makes me worry a little bit, because not that they have bad taste or anything like that, or good taste or whatever, taste schmaste, but that the emotional depth of what they consume and think of as meaningful is truly shallow.
I think that's just because you're too old.
It could be. I'm completely open to that. I've thought, maybe it's coming from a different generation, et cetera, et cetera. But I think to myself, well, I'm also talking about acting students, and I see them on stage, and we watch movies together as part of our work, and we take them apart, and I see what they consider as meaningful and emotionally kind of powerful. And I hate to report, Disney is like the number one most prevalent source of their musical taste, and their kind of the stories that they take in. These are,
Yeah.
and now, do I have something against Disney? Yes. Yes.
Well, too bad. They own everything, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, they own everything, and it doesn't matter. You're right, but I long for my students and people to have experiences that are more complex. Forget deep or shallow. Just that have a certain complexity and subtlety to them.
Yeah. Speaking of Disney.
Sorry, folks.
Well, actually,
I'm sure you love Disney out there. My uncle loves Disney, and we've talked about this. And anyway, go on, Bjork.
Yeah, there's a cool comment here from Beat Stellum. It says the band that stirs the most emotions for me is probably Deftones, especially the more atmospheric tracks like Sex Tape for joy, which is the emotion, or Digital Bath, which is tension. And I can agree with that because I'm also a huge Deftones fan, and one of my favorite Deftones songs actually is Passenger, that has Maynard James Keenan on cameo vocals. He's the singer in Tool. And as if you couldn't notice already, this is the second Tool reference in the last 30 minutes. So I'm a huge fan of Deftones. I've seen them live twice, once in 2002 and once in 2006. They were terrible the first time. I think Chino Moreno was just drunk off his ass and couldn't play and sounded awful. And he was they were opening up for Perfect Circle, which is Maynard James Keenan's side project, Tool reference in 30 minutes. But then I saw them again, and they didn't do Passenger. They were there. Both of the singers were there at the same time, playing for each other, and they didn't do this fucking song. And
wow. Okay. F-bomb number one occurred at 32:38.
And then fast forward a few years later, I'm at Roskilde the Music Festival in Denmark. This was in London, the previous one. I'm in Roskilde the Music Festival in Denmark. It's a beautiful day. They're playing at 5 p.m. in the afternoon on the giant stage. They have an incredible performance. Like, I went there expecting like, oh, we're gonna see them bomb again, because I'd also seen music videos of them live where they also sucked. But then they just completely blew us away with their performance. And they were touring for a new record at the time. I can't remember which one. It might have just been the Deftones album. But again, Tool played later that evening to promote 10,000 Days. And again, did not play Passenger. And it's bugged me ever since. So
it definitely has gotten under your skin in ways that I did not know was possible. For those of you who don't know Bjorkman, he's optimistic to the point of nausea, and not for him.
I don't think anybody's described me that way.
Well, feast your ears and replay that one. You can play that for your wife, and she'll be like, "Yes, yes." But no, I've never seen you so kind of really. It's definitely bothering you. I won't characterize it any more than that, but I think you can probably put this one down, Bjorkman.
It's just such a good song, and I wish I could have seen it live,
Damn it.
But to wrap things up, I did want to talk about emotion. Yeah, deserves an F-bomb.
He deserves an F-bomb.
Yeah. I did want to recommend. Not recommend. I want to go back to just tying it together and saying, like, music spans a whole range of emotion, and I think everybody can find a song that captures a particular piece of time, a period of time for them, a memory, if you will, or an emotion. And going back to what you said about the complexity of emotions and how, it's not just happy or sad, it's melancholic and bittersweet, which sort of ties it all together with this beautiful movie Inside Out by Pixar, also owned by Disney, that talks about the complexities of emotion. And going
Uh-huh.
full circle on that again, just to say that I highly recommend that movie as well if you want to delve more into in uh, Pixar beautiful storytelling. Obviously, Pixar is one of the greatest animation studios in the world, and is way better than Disney, even though they are sort of owned by Disney. But
Kind of. I remember
yeah,
Finding Nemo was great.
yeah, Finding Nemo.
I enjoyed Finding Nemo. Inside Out, I have to do some research on and check this thing out.
Yeah, you'd
But
love it.
I'd love it. Maybe I
Yeah.
would. Maybe I would.
Well, I think we should leave it at that.
I guess so.
I feel like we should leave people wanting more. So please leave a comment if you're watching this after the fact, or right now if you're watching it in the moment, and let us know what you liked, what you disliked, what you'd never want to see more of. Favorite song is, what song you would like us to cover, and or any other questions that you may have. And then if you want more of Audio Issues and me in general, I guess, if somehow that is desirable, you can join me tomorrow for happy hour on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, where I'll be joined by producer engineer Ronan Chris Murphy, who has been involved with King Crimson and Gwar, among other very cool rock bands and prog bands. So stay tuned for that. And if you'd like to let the audience know about your escapades in music production?
I don't know. Happy Now is out. I don't know. It's a single. I don't ever think I'm going to ever make any kind of money. So that's not why I do it, but I'm pretty sure you figured that out by now. So that's out there in the world of Spotify and all the places you get it. But I've got a lot of music and it's all out there. Next week will be another release called Springtime. And I've noticed that a lot of the things I've been working on the past, I think the past couple of years, but definitely the past half year, I've been very much about the subject of kind of my grandmother and taking care of her and seeing how she kind of lived. And yeah, the experience that I've had with her has really sort of informed a lot of my work. And yeah, I don't know how you would describe my work. I don't know a lot of people who can successfully describe it, but it's kind of a mix between kind of rock and jazz and funk, and we'll see. But that's out there, and you can also go to relieftone.com if you need help or have questions about songwriting or arranging. I love to help people with that. So you can reach me there. But
cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I put links to your Spotify profile there in the chat. So
thank you for doing
that. Look him up and listen to the newest release, Happy Now. Then he'll have more music out soon enough.
Happy Now is a funny song about an empty nest.
Yeah. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and see you guys soon.
Yep.